You know, for someone who just absolutely loves and adores trees as much as I do, I really don't paint them enough. In fact, I only think I've done like 2 tree paintings before. I'll pop them on the screen now so you can see. I did both of these in acrylics and I was practicing a nice loose style for these. It was also in September, so you can see I was feeling very autumnal with the colours at the time. Today I won't be drawing a full tree and I won't be doing it in acrylics. Instead I'll be going back to my alcohol markers and drawing a really close up version of a tree. I love to go out on little nature walks with my dogs. We can't really go far because they're so old now. The little white one, her name's Suki, who you saw in the beginning of the video. She is 14 now and has a bad back leg, so we can't really go far, but we're lucky enough to have a beautiful little park and nature path opposite our home. And this little guy is Nacho. We call him the Vibe Guardian because he always knows when you're sad and he gets a toy from his toy box and comes and sees you with it. So on our little nature walks, I often just look at the trees, all the different kinds of trees, all the different shapes, the colours, the variations, the different shaped leaves. I talk to them sometimes and have been known to give them a hug. Anybody that sees me over there must think I'm quite crazy probably, but I don't know, there's just something so incredibly grounding and calming about trees. I just love them. When this prompt come up in one of my art prompt lists, I always say prompt. So when this prompt come up in my January art prompt list, texture, I decided to go over and photograph a tree up close and see if I could replicate the texture with my alcohol markers in my sketchbook. Just quickly, I have just realised I have totally forgot to welcome you to my channel, welcome you to this new video, and also introduce myself. So my name is Amber and I'm just an artist who wants to fill sketchbooks up and learn and grow and just explore colour and art and everything else. So hello. I'm not going to go back now and put this in front of this voiceover. So here it is. Anyway, the paper that I'm using today is my Ohuhu Alcohol Marker sketchbook, and I'll be using my Ohuhu alcohol markers to do this picture. I'm also using some colour pencils and maybe a gel pen at the end. I don't think I do, but I usually use a gel pen, so I may as well just say that now. I'm just swatching out a few of the colours that I'm using. I do like to try and work with a limited colour palette, even though I do have the big set of 320 markers. It's way too much and gets way too overwhelming if I have too many colours out on the table. So I like to pick a few out in the beginning and then just get started with those and maybe pick some more out if I need them later on. So if you look at the reference photo, there is so much variation on there. I love how the bark is all cracked and there's little bits of green on there, and then I can see I really don't know what they are other than growths of some kind. The little blue, like almost looks like barnacles or something. If you know more about trees than I do, then maybe you can tell me what that is. But I like to go in with my alcohol markers, firstly with the lightest colour that I might use, and then the darkest colour quite quickly after. So I feel like once you establish your most lightest areas and then your most darkest areas, then the picture can come together quite quickly. With alcohol markers, I haven't so far saved any of my whites in any of my pictures. So I would rather just fill the whole paper in with pen and then go back in later with either a white gel pen or a white coloured pencil and pick out the brightest highlights then. If you don't have a gel pen or a white colour pencil or anything else you could use to pick out the highlights, then it is highly recommended that you save the whites and the brightest highlights in your picture. So kind of like you would do with watercolours if you don't have like a white gouache. A white gouache, actually, that's another really good medium to have to just pick out the lightest areas in your picture when you're done. Gouache works really, really well on top of alcohol markers, and I use that quite often actually. So I do apologise for the quality of this video. I have edited it into oblivion, to be honest. I had a problem with my camera where every time I took my hand out of the shot, it started like flashing and going funny, which you can see it is happening here. But I've sorted that out now, but unfortunately it's not until like another 3 or 4 videos time when I realised the problem. So you'll just have to deal with it for this video. But if you're enjoying it or you have any questions about anything that I'm doing here, then please don't hesitate to ask in the comments or just leave me a comment to let me know what you think. And also don't forget to like this video. Always forget to say it, but it's very important for me and I appreciate it. Here I am just building up layers and layers of alcohol markers on my paper, and I'm looking at my reference photo closely to take note of where all the colours are and where the values are. So I don't get this perfect by any means, but it was a really good exercise to just practice and see if I could achieve this texture. This colour is one of my absolute favourite colours from my set. It's quite funny because I have like all of the marker colours, but I absolutely love this really light grey more than anything. I tend to use it all the time. It's called the Cool Grey. I think it's just Cool Grey 0. It's basically the lightest colour grey that I have in the set, but I just think it's such a versatile colour because I put it down in place of my lightest whites usually. So as I said, I don't save the whites, but I will put that cool grey down where my lightest colours will go, just so I can save them. And I also use it to blend all the other colours together. So I've said this in a few of my other videos, but a really great tip for alcohol markers is the lighter colours have more alcohol in them, so they tend to bleach your darker colours a little bit when you layer them on top. And I do just like to use a really, really light colour. Usually this, I think this one's called like barium yellow or something. So I usually use like a really light yellow or a really light grey to, well, or depending on what I'm drawing, I suppose. You wouldn't use yellow for everything. But yeah, I use those lighter colours to blend all the darker ones together. And then it does wash them out a little bit, but you can always go back on top with your darker colours again afterwards. I do love that about markers. You can just layer and layer and layer. Obviously, you have to remember that you can't add lighter colours on top of darker ones though. I know that sounds a bit obvious, but yeah. You can also use the colourless blender to blend all your colours together, obviously. I think you get one of those in every pack of markers that you buy, and that's also a really, really good tool and is just pure alcohol in the colourless blender, so that also can bleach your darker colours a little bit. But I do like that for like the beginning layers or an area that I don't want to be so vibrant. It's good to not have vibrancy all over your artwork, because then the parts that you want to stand out won't stand out because it's all too vibrant. Does that make sense? Isn't it funny how when you create artwork, whatever you're watching or consuming, like music or whatever you're into at the time, always stands out every time you look at the artwork again? So as I'm doing this voiceover, I just remember that I was watching The Great. Yes, The Great. And I really, really enjoyed that series. Have any of you watched that? I love any sort of period drama type thing. But yeah, I really, really did enjoy that. And as I'm watching this now, I can just remember some of the scenes that was on there at the time. I just think art, whether it be a tiny little study in a sketchbook or a really full-blown painting that took you days and days, it's just so meaningful, isn't it? Like, you put a little piece of yourself into every single painting that you do or sketch or anything, really. It just fascinates me so much, like down to the colours that you choose, to the composition, to just the subject in general. Yeah, just having a moment there. I really, really love this sketchbook and the paper in it. I haven't really tried many papers yet for my alcohol markers. I've got one of those that's like really, really thin. It's almost like tissue paper, it's so thin. I'm not quite sure if I like to work on something like that. I prefer something a little bit thicker. because it just creases so easily and can easily ruin your picture. But I love this sketchbook. The only reason why I think somebody might not like it is because it bleeds to the other side so much. I know that that's not a thing that people really enjoy, but I don't mind it because it feels as though I'm filling like 2 pages up in a sketchbook instead of just one. I don't mind that I can only work on one side, and I think it will help like to fill the sketchbook up a little bit quicker as well, because I really want to fill at least one sketchbook up this year. That is my goal, and I don't know whether it's going to be this alcohol marker one or my absolute new favourite sketchbook, which is the Art Creations, the Boyle Talons Art Creations. You can't really use alcohol markers in that one, but you can use like everything else. It's quite a thin paper, and it's got like a yellowish texture, a yellowish colour to it too, which I didn't think I would like that much. But I am just loving it, and I feel as though I can just create anything in there. So I'm not sure which one it will be. I'm so glad to have you guys here though to follow along with this journey, because it doesn't matter what sketchbook I'm working in or whether I'm doing a full big piece on paper or just little studies in a sketchbook. I'll be sharing pretty much everything here on this channel and just talking about the journey and the thought process and everything else that goes with it. So yeah, I'm really grateful to have you here. What do you think of this picture so far? I know it looks nothing like the reference photo, but I never really try and get my art to look anything like the reference photos anymore. I just go with what I feel, you know? So it's time for the coloured pencils, and the ones that I'm absolutely loving at the moment are the Derwent Chromaflow pencils. I love them for this paper and for layering on top of the alcohol markers. I'm just adding in my lighter areas now, putting a little bit of yellow in and just bringing the picture to life a little bit. I could have spent a lot more time on this one, but I decided not to because this is just supposed to be a quick study in my sketchbook, and I thought it actually looked pretty cool and like almost like a little cartoony version of what I was going for. So I thought that would do. You can see I am always twisting my pencil pretty much every time I pick it up from the paper. It's just a habit now from using coloured pencils most of my art life, I suppose. It keeps the pencil nice and sharp and stops you from having to sharpen it so much, I suppose. It's a really good tip for if you use coloured pencils often. I should imagine if you do, you probably already know about that. If you're really new to alcohol markers, then knowing that you've got your colour pencils there at the end to fix any problems or mistakes that you might have made is a really comforting thought, because if I only had the alcohol markers, I think I'd feel a little bit more under pressure. And even when I've tried to create art with just the markers, I've never ended up actually just doing markers, I don't think. I always use a couple of pencils at the end just to you know, fix it up a little bit, add a couple of little details and stuff just quickly. Or if I don't use the pencils, I'm usually using a white gouache or a gel pen, and I've just recently been playing with lots of really colourful gel pens on my art, and I've been doing a lot more gouache painting, so I'm looking forward to sharing those videos with you really soon. I hope you'll subscribe and stick around if you enjoyed this one and you want to see more art from me. Don't expect masterpieces. I just like to play and learn and have fun and share the process with you guys, and I just think that I might be starting to build like a nice little community here on this channel, and yeah, it just feels really bloody exciting. And I just feel excited every time I sit down to do a voiceover and every time I sit down to draw or paint, because I just always think I can't wait to share this with you guys and talk about it and talk about how I feel and how I'm feeling when I'm creating it. I just like to chat absolute crap and talk about art, so I hope you enjoy that too. You obviously do if you've made it this far into the video. Let me know if you've made it to the end of this video. Please do. I'd love to know in the comments how many of you guys do. So I guess I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much. Bye.